So, welcome everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you to this beautiful opening event for the opening of the exhibition Nobody's Listening. Today is actually at 6 o'clock the opening ceremony. That was a lot of openings. And I'm very happy to introduce you to the speakers of our artist talk. So we are actually having two artists here, Nasrin Malki and Falah Al-Razam. And also this artist talk will be moderated by Dr. Jan Ihan Kieselhan, the Dean at the Institute of Psychotherapy and Psychotraumatology, and also he's from the University of Duhok and director of the Institute for Transcultural Science. So also this event will be translated from Haida Elias, the co-founder and president of YASTA. So the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for your kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the first panel of this exhibition, Nobody is Listening. My name is Jan Ilhan Kieselhan. Actually, I'm a psychology professor, and maybe you will ask you what is your relation to art. But in psychotherapy, we use the power of art for healing, and this is maybe the most interesting why I want to do a short introduction about healing and psychology and maybe how it's work for healing. And then I will introduce my distinguished guests here and discuss with them about a different kind of motivation, about the personal experiences and the relation to be an artist, why you became an artist, for example. But let me say some words about the art and healing. What is the relation between art and healing? Civilization is not also associated with philosophy, with ethic, moral, and maybe modern technique and society. It's also, unfortunately, associated with mental wounds, with trauma, with grief and suffering. And that leads to the separation of a spiritual world. But this mental world, this spiritual world is also very important for our health and give us hope. Otherwise, with any hope, we will have no idea for struggling, for surviving. And so far, maybe this is also a part, a healing individually, for collective society, for in general, globally, to reconnecting the mental illnesses and mental issues in a way to have a well-being situation to give more hope. Healing and regeneration is also a part of coordination, maybe also inspiration for people to live and give an idea about ourselves, what it means to be as a person, as an individual, what is our feeling and emotions, and how we can find a way to grow as a person, but also as a society. So it means art is somehow maybe an universal consciousness to reconnect each other through non-verbal techniques, not speaking. But also music can be one, art, painting can be one, dancing can be a way to find together. Our ancient people know this a long time before, how to heal person after genocide, after a catastrophe, to bring people together, to talk to each other, to listen to each other. And this is the reason why we're here today, to change maybe the idea of nobody is listening, to change to listening, to hear and to learn from each other through art, through this exhibition, which is a part of our art. And so I'm really very happy to have two gifted artists here to share with us their experiences. And so I would like to leave the floor to my guests, and maybe with the first question to introduce you shortly, but also with a question, what was your motivation to start it as an artist? What was your inspiration? Maybe we will start with you, Nasrin.
Okay,
Can you take the...
My name is Nasrin.
Nasrin.
بشكل ملخص إذا تتكلمين عن اسمك ولقبك وشنو اللي دفعك الانسبيريشن الإلهام اللي دفعك إنه تشتغلين كأرتست.
اسمي نهرين ملكي، جيت من سوريا، ولدت بمدينة القامشلي وعشت بهولندا وبعدين هلا عايشة بالسويد.
My name is Nahrin Malki, born in Syria in Qamishli city. Been in Netherlands as well, and also recently I'm living in Sweden, and I'm an artist.
Motivation أنا بحس الإنسان إذا هو فنان من صغره بيكون معه، يعني الموتيفيشن بعدين بيجي، بس هو بيكون الشيء بالجينات تبعه خلقان معه.
The question of inspiration, what inspired me to become an artist is, I think, something is related to a hereditary genetics part of us, and something that is with us since the childhood, and the inspiration comes later.
الانسبيريشن يمكن يجي بعدين لما واحد مثلا يكون عنده ستيل معين. الانسبيريشن بيجي من قضايا ممكن شعبه مش الشيء اللي عم بيشوفه حواليه بشكل عام، يعني مو بس شعبه، يعني الفنان منه إنسان معزول عن العالم، إنسان منفعل.
The inspiration comes later on life, and maybe it picks from the environment, from the community, but it's not limited to the community. It could be something universal, because an artist is not disconnected with the other societies. It can be picked up from an environment that not necessarily her or his own community.
Yes, you came from Syria, from Qamishli. It's a multicultural society, Yazidis, Muslims, Christians, different kind of groups. How it impact your life to be an artist?
لأن أنا ولدت بعائلة كانوا كتير منفتحين، يعني بشكل إنه كان بوقتنا كمان وحدة تدرس فنون بسوريا شيء كتير غريب، بس أنا أهلي كانوا كتير يعني عائلة ليبرالي ومنفتحين كتير لكل شيء.
Well, first of all, I came from a very open-minded family, and at the time, I think someone like me studying in fine arts would perhaps called surreal or strange to be put in that position at first to do this kind of study. But again, I would say my family was very open-minded, and that's how I kind of became open to what should I study.
وطبعا الإنسان اللي بيعيش بمنطقة فيها كتير اندماج بتكون المنطقة أكثر من فتحة، ولهيك بنشوف إنه الشرق الأوسط إذا ضل بهذا الانغلاق اللي هلا فيه مثلا جروب أو جروبين ما بده يكون هذا الانفتاح، لأن الانفتاح بيجي من تبادل الحضارات والثقافات.
And I think the area that I lived, I was born and grown up, it was an area, there was a lot of assimilation. There was a lot of mixed exchange of civilizations, exchange of culture information at the time. I think the danger that we see recently in Middle East is not accepting others and the opposite of the assimilation, and that's what we're afraid of. Because exchanging the cultural heritage and educating about the other is what prevents the atrocities and other crimes.
Thank you.
The story of Christian is one of the ancient group in the Middle East. And they go through different kind of flights, persecution, even from Turkey and later to Syria and back in Iraq. How it's influenced your family's history, your work?
حابب ترجم؟
نعم، يعني أنت كيف تشوفين؟ أحاول أترجمها على الشامي إذا بي حيل. حسب التاريخ تبع العائلة تبعك إنه في آبائك وأجدادك لما كانوا في تركيا أو في سوريا أو كان في ظلم، كانوا مظلومين، كان في إبادات وفي قتل، ومن خلال هاي الفترة كلها أنت عشتي في سوريا أو كمان تحولتوا للعراق؟ مو؟
لا، نحن
بس في
سوريا، بس أجدادي عاشوا الجينوسايد، وجدي نجا بالجينوسايد بمنطقة شنغال، ولهيك اسم عائلتنا كمان الشنغالية. أبي كمان ولد بمنطقة سنجار. الجينوسايد له كتير تأثير علينا نحن، لأنه التراوما عم بتفوت بجينات الإنسان. يعني أنا أمي ما شافت الجينوسايد، بس ضلت تحكي عليه قبل ما تموت لآخر لحظة، تقول إنه أنا عم بشوف العالم مثل القطيع، مثل المسس عم يندبحوا. فهذا الشيء أثر عليها، وهذا عم تتورثه هالتراوما عم بتكون معنا.
I myself didn't live in Shingal, but my father lived the atrocity, and my ancestors were survivors of a genocide. But I think it lives and it passes the genes to the survivors. The trauma passes through the genetic line from one generation to another. And the reason I'm saying that, because my mother never lived a genocide, but she kind of having a notion of people as cattle, and people were getting killed just like cattle. And she will, even till the moment she was passing, she was having these notions, even though herself not having that particular experience. So to me, that has passed on to me as well, I think.
يعني بشوف إنه المذابح وهالأمور عم بتشوه الإنسان لأجيال أجيال، عم بيضل مشوه هذا الإنسان. ما بس جيل واحد اللي يعني مثل هلا اليزيديين اللي هلا عاشوا بده يعيشوا، حتى اليهود بالهولوكاست شلون اللي صار فيهم بده يكون له تأثير ل 200 و 300 سنة على أجيالهم، لأنه هذا الشيء بده يتناقلوا.
I think this is transferring from one generation to another. This trauma that is passing through genes. It will stay with Yazidis for a very long period of time. I think it stayed with the Jewish community through the Holocaust for a very long time, and I think it's transferable. And that in terms of how it moves from one generation to another when it comes to trauma.
Maybe you told me a little bit before, so it's really interesting because it's a part of my research, transgeneration traumata. We know in the 1914-15, the Assyrian people faced a massacre, genocide. And by the way, a lot of the Assyrian and Armenians fled to Iraq. And Hamosheru, one was of the leader, the Yazidi leader, who protected about 20,000 Armenian Christians. And you told me also your father or your grandfather was also a part of them. Is this a special link to Yazidis because somehow you are linked to them from your grandfather and the history of your family?
هو اجت لما انا صار البروجكت مع اليزيديين، قلت كيف الزمن بعد 100 سنة بتحس البشرية ما تطورت. يعني بهذا التطور شلون اللي صار قبل 100 سنة رجع صار بغير سيناريو، ورجعنا كمان نحن واليزيديين نشترك بهذا الشيء مع بعض. يعني نحن مدينين بشكر لليزيديين، بس شلون انه رجع الزمن بتحس بهذا، يعني كيف يعني ما مقبول.
You know, when this happened back in 2014, and I was saying that it's just amazing, it's surreal what has happened again to us. This was 100 years ago, and then now it's happening to the Yazidis after 100 years of advanced humanity. Now, we owe Yazidis a lot because of what happened to us and how we were survived. But we got together because we shared this kind of trauma that had happened to us. To me, the most important thing is that how amazing and surreal is 100 years of advancement and still such atrocities are committed.
Maybe one last question, and then I came back to you again. Of course, in 2011, the civil war in Syria started. And you're a woman, you said you are living in a liberate family, but this is not common in Syria. So what is the gender aspect as a woman to be an artist? Is this somehow influenced your work to also fight for the right of women in Arabic countries?
يعني الحرب الأهلية في سوريا بالتحديد بدأت تقريبا 2011 ولها علاقة بالمعاناة وخاصة المرأة. أنت إذا تحاولين تدافعين عن المرأة في بلد أو في منطقة أنه لها حقوق قليلة بالنسبة للمرأة.
هو الظاهر للعيان انه الحرب السوريه هلا بدت ب 2011 بس بالحقيقه الحرب السوريه مع نظام ديكتاتور كانت موجوده من قبل.
Well, in reality, the civil war is known to have taken place since 2011, but the reality is that we as minorities or people who have lived subjugated by a dictator, a Syrian regime, it's been really since really a while ago.
What is the aspect of women and females?
يعني من منطلق أو
طبعا
مرأة يعني.
لأنه المرأة بتحسها مظلومة كتير عنا، يعني المرأة ببلادنا بتحس عندها إمكانيات كتيرة، بس أنا طبعا ما بدي ماني ضد، يعني المرأة لازم أكتر تاخذ حقها. يعني إذا قارنا وضع المرأة بالسنين الأخيرة وبالخمسينات والسبعينات بتشوف إنه المرأة بالعراق وبسوريا بالشرق الأوسط كله صار في تخلف بدل ما يصير في تطور. والمرأة نص المجتمع، يعني المرأة الأم. إذا المرأة ما تحررت كيف بدها تبني عائلة؟
في الستينات والسبعينات؟
إيه طبعا كانت أكثر متحررة. طب كان أكثر تحرر.
Well, to start, I'm not against the other gender side, but I think it's really, I have to agree.
Iran also, Iran كمان.
And even in Iran. So I have to think, I think we as women in Middle East in general, and in Syria and Iraq, and also in Iran, I think we feel as a woman we have a capability of doing things. We have the skills that requires, we have the ability that requires to do things that we normally are not able to or allowed to. So I think it's been really a long time. To give you an example, in the decades of 60s and the 70s, there was a large oppression against the women, and largely in Syria, Iraq, and Iran, that they were not advancing and they were oppressed.
يعني إذا أنا عفوا بوجهة نظري إذا أنت ربيت امرأة قوية ربيت مجتمع كامل. يعني التحرر بيبدأ من المرأة، هي أساس المجتمع.
I think if you brought a woman, you're bringing up half of the human race for sure, and woman is a mother, and a mother can be very impactful when it comes to either being advanced or being oppressed. So this is extremely important because as a mother and as a bringing up children, it's very important to have a support for them.
وبعدين المرأة كانت دائما بالفنون التشكيلية تاخذ دور المرأة العارية، المرأة الجميلة، بس بحياتهم ما قدموا المرأة كإنسان ثوري. فهمت علي شلون؟
So we always see in art that the hierarchy in the arts when it comes to the women, the aristocratic of a woman first, and also the royalty of a woman, that how the woman is in power, or maybe the beautiful woman. So we only have aristocracy, and also we have the beauty, but a regular woman, that a revolutionary woman is never has been mentioned in our society.
يعني المرأة حاليا عندها دور كبير كتير بالمجتمع، فلازم تاخذ دورها كمان بالفن.
Because the woman has a great role in a society, and it has to take part in art. It's essential to do so.
Do you have any example to give us the powerful women who are in resistance, who fight against injustice?
في العديد من الأمثلة. يعني أنا بحس إنه ثورة المرأة بعدة أشكال. يعني ما
عندك مرأة يعني شخصية؟
لا، أنا بحس المرأة ممكن في نساء بيعبروا بالفن، في نساء مثلا كاتبات، في نساء مثلا حاربوا. يعني المرأة يعني المرأة مثلا هلا عندنا بالجينوسايد، أنا قصة عائلتي لو مو إنه ميمتي خلصت العائلة كلياتها كانت وحدة امرأة يعني.
Well, not in specific, but this is in general. In general, women have taken part in rescue missions and incredibly heroic acts of women. And to give an example, my nanny was one of them that participated in rescuing, and she did heroic acts. Nothing specific.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will come back to you and maybe also about your work in Sweden and Netherlands and what is your further perspective and planning. But going back to Falas, thank you very much for coming a long way from Iraq, northern Iraq and Kurdistan here. You are now 3 days here in Germany. How do you feel to be in Germany? How is your first expression? You are first time in Germany.
Thank you so much for having me here as an artist from Iraq, as an Yazidi artist. Actually, it's like an amazing experience for me to be here for the first time. And Deutschland is a great country. Actually, we appreciate what they're doing for our people. And I am like happy to do something for my people through my art. Yeah,
thank you very much, Fala. Can you introduce, like Nahreen, what is your work? When you started with painting and became an artist? What was your motivation to do that?
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I was doing sketches like cartoon characters. And actually always my friends at that time gathered around me and they asked me to do cartoon characters for them, and I was happy with that. Then I developed my skills from time to time because actually I was busy with my study. But after I've been graduated from computer science college, I started to develop it more. And in 2014, after what has happened to Yazidi people, the genocide, and we've been displaced to the camps, I lived with the refugees and with the ISIS survivors. So I wanted to document the stories through my paintings.
Was for you personally also a turning point, 2014, the genocide against Yazidis, that you changed maybe also your way how to be an artist? How it's impact you, how it's influenced you, this genocide?
Yeah, you know, because it was a very sad story, what happened to Yazidi peoples, and I was one of them. Because I lived the experience with my family. And in August, the 3rd of August 2014, we left our home when ISIS attacked Shingal Mountain, the Shingal area. I mean, we went to the mountain and stayed for one night over there. Then we decided to go to Kurdistan, and we've been through ISIS checkpoints, but they were busy with fighting with other Kurdish forces on the Iraqi-Syrian border. So we were able to run away and get to Kurdistan.
So you told me sometimes you are now in Sinjar, sometimes in Duhok, in refugee camps.
Yeah.
So what is your impression? You know, you are artist, and maybe the way to see some environment, people's faces, feelings is different. Yeah. What is the difference when you now went to Sinjar and living in Sinjar? What is the difference between before 2014 and now after 2014? So in the perspective of an artist, how we can understand this?
Yeah, actually, I lived for 5 years in the camp, and then we got back home, and I see that it's a very sad view to see the destroyed houses. Most of people are not there, and the majority of people are not capable to go back home. And actually, I'm still sad when I live in Shingal to see that view. But I did the majority of my paintings in the camp because I was living with the refugees, and you know, it has a very big impact on my, and on my personality, on my emotions. So I wanted to get benefit from the genocide and to do something to get the message of what had happened to Yazidi people to the world to understand through art.
What is the expression of the refugee people? Because, you know, I'm always, one of the months, I'm also in Sharia, Haneke, I know a lot of those people, the children, and when you're doing your paintings, and what is the expression of the children, of the women, of the Yazidis who are living in a refugee camp?
Yeah, there is a sample here. They're showing one of my paintings. She was ISIS survivor. So I went to them in the camp and I took pictures for the family. And actually, it was sad that I was talking to them, but I explained for them if one day we sold the painting, maybe we can help you with money to, they interacted to the situation, yes.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but somehow are you maybe also a new generation of storytelling with your art? Are you telling stories?
I tried for each painting of mine to tell a story, a different story, and most of them were related to Yazidi genocide. Yes. Yeah.
Did you have any exhibition also in Iraq and in Doha, for example? Did you already some exhibitions?
I participated with some of my paintings, which was organized by Yazda organization, and nobody's listening. And it was in 2019. Then they brought 3 of my paintings here.
Maybe just one last question, then we go around about the impact of trauma and paintings, maybe, or arts.
Yeah.
How do you feel personally if you're drawing and painting and working?
Yeah.
How it is something, it's a well-being, it's a relaxation, it's a memory.
Yeah.
How you feel personal?
Yeah, actually I was suffering like a human being when I was painting an ISIS survivor, and I was interacting with the face features. It was very emotional.
It's also helpful for you?
Yeah, because I tried to do something for my people. It was helpful. Yeah, but it has like impact on my personality, but I wanted to get benefits from the weak points and to translate them to something powerful.
So I will come back to you again. The question is about healing and art. What do you think is it's the impact if you're painting and show the audience, like today in the exhibition? Is this the power of healing with painting, with artist work? What do you think? What is your idea?
يعني نرجع للرسم مثلا. الرسم هل له علاقة في الشفاء ومن الواحد يشفي من الصدمة ومن من الحالات الخاصة اللي فيها؟
هلا أنا وضعي مختلف عنه، يعني أنا لما اشتغلت بالفن مو لأنه كان عندي تراوما. أنا درست أكاديمية فنون جميلة بسوريا ودرست بهولندا، فأنا بديت أعمل بحث بالأختام، الستامب، الختم. وشغلي مرق بعدة مراحل. يعني أنا ما اشتغلت التراوما لأنه أنا كان عندي هذا انديركت كان معي، بس مو لأنه صار شيء فأنا عملت شيء.
I'm perhaps a bit different, and my start was different than what Falah started, for sure, because I started as fine arts in Syria and then pursued my education in Netherlands.
Art Academy.
And then after that, there were stages in my life. For example, at the beginning, I started with stamps.
ولهلا عم بشتغل بالأختام، يعني بس اتطور. يعني بديت أول مرة عملت بحث عن الأيقونات، بعدين عملت بحث عن الأختام، وبعدين اتطور شغلي بعدة مراحل يعني.
And until now, actually, I've been working on stamps, but my work has gone and transitioned through multiple stages now. I started with icons, and then from there, and then stamps, and you know, a few other things that I have done.
يعني أنا مهم عندي القصة، بس الأهم دائما بأي عمل إنه أنا يكون عندي identity ويكون عندي بحثي أستمر فيه.
I am still continuous. The important thing is that I have my signature, my identity on the work that I do first, and then I have to pursue. When I do something, I have to pursue.
يعني بعدين أنا لما بشتغل أي شيء ما بفكر بس بشعبي. يعني أنا مثلا اللوحة الكبيرة الموجودة هون الجدارية أنا أخذتها صورة من الهولوكاست. يعني أنا أي شيء بحس حالي عم بتأثر فيه موجود حوالي عم بعمله، لأنه بحس قبل كل شيء أنا إنسان.
First of all, yeah, my work is not limited to my community. And to give you an example, that the background photo that I took was from a Holocaust. And so that was outside of the coverage of my community. I started with that as a human. I take from the environment, not necessarily a societal environment, but as an environment geographically. So whenever I go as a human, it's first of all, I consider myself human first and anything else second.
يعني لما أنا عملت الكولكشن تبع النساء اليزيديات أنا ما كنت مرتبطة بهذا المشروع تبع المعرض، بس أنا لما حسيته شيء ما طبيعي بهذا الوقت تباع النساء ويضطهد حقه، والمسيحيين نفس الشيء، هذا الشيء خلاني أشتغل يعني أعمل هذا الكولكشن.
When I did the collection of the Yazidi women who were victimized, I wasn't part of this project. But when I looked at it and felt that at this stage, in today's era, that these kind of acts are committed, enslavement, sexual enslavement, I thought to myself, I have to commit. And then that's how I merged with Nobody's Listening.
So you're working, as you mentioned, painting about Holocaust, your own community, but as well not your community. What is your motivation? Do you have sometimes when you're painting, everyone wants to give this painting a soul. What is your motivation if you're painting to give this something which is expressed, not just for you, maybe also for the audience, for other people?
يعني أنت تكلمتي إنه مو محدود لمجتمعك، يعني شيء عالمي تأخذيه من البيئة، بس أشوف الناس لما بيرسموا شيء ينطوا روحية للصورة. أنت كيف تقدرين تشرحين للجمهور، لأن الجمهور اللي بيقرأ شيء وأنت بتقرين شيء.
طبعا لأنه هو بالآخر بيجي نرجع لنقطة إنه لما شعبك بيعيش مأساة هذا الشيء بيكون بالدي ان تبعك، فأنت بيكون عندك هذا الانرجي، هذا الأجريسيف بحسه مرات، بيكون عندك هاي الطاقة الغريبة اللي أنت عم تحملها بتحب تفرغها بشيء معين، وهذا الشيء بيكون يمكن من موروثات الإنسان بتوقع. يعني بتكون الصور لما أمك تقعد دايما تحكي قصة بيضل هذا الشيء كلياته عبارة بخيالك عم يتراكم يتراكم يتراكم.
So this is relatable to us. I think there is a subconscious energy, that something you have as an extreme energy that you're not aware of, but it comes, I think, from your past. When for example, your mother speaks a story and it stays with you, and then you have to translate that and transfer that into a sort of an art.
يعني كان دائما بتذكر أمي حزينة، دائما تبكي، وكانت تحكي لي أمها كانت تبكي دائما، يعني بتقوم بجو ما صحي.
And so remembering that when a mother was sad, depressed, and crying most of the time, and she was also relating and elaborating how her own mother was going through the same exact situation, that gives you that's kind of like you bring up in a different society, in a different arena.
بعدين أنا يعني هلا أنا ليش بقول إنه أنا كل شيء يعني أنا بستعمل حتى الستامب تكنيك لأنه هذا الشيء بيريحني أولا لأنه تكنيك قديم من أيام الآشوريين، تكنيك جدا قديم. تاني شغلة أنا بحس إنه لما أنت تشتغل بالختم مثل الحقيقة عم بتحطه ما فيك تغيره، عم تثبته.
And so I've started with stamp. I think it's something unique, and it's something factual. And because this started in Assyrian civilization, to look at it as a fact. One thing is, also on the other hand, when you work on that part, for me is partly healing when I look at the detail of the stamping, and also at the same time, I think it's a stamp of a fact that it never can be erased.
Just one question: how do you feel if I'm now see one of your paintings, and after then I will say, after seeing your painting, I feel very good, and I can understand, and maybe I can even recover my trauma. If I tell you this, how you would feel?
شو الشعور اللي بيورد عندك لما نكون أني أطلع على لوحتك وأشوف إنه أني قلت لك إنه أني دا أشفي من هذا الشيء. طلعت اللوحة ودرست اللوحة وبديت أشفي يعني.
هو أنا بحس إنه الحقيقة دائما لما تحكيها تشفى منها، لما تقدمها بصراحة، لما يكون عندك الجرأة تقدم شيء معناتها أنت عم بتحل جزء مهم، وهذا دور الفن. الفن كمان مثل الكاتب مثل أي شيء له دور مهم بالمجتمع، إنه يحط إيده على الأمور المهمة حتى يفرجي الحقيقة، حتى يشفي، لأن نحن ناس ما جايين من غير كوكب، نحن عم نتأثر بكل شيء حوالينا.
Well, I think ethical part of art's work is very important when you put something original, legitimate, and genuine. This genuine work from the art, because we're humans, we have not came from a different planets. It's about the originality and how genuine our work is. And when we do it in the right way, whether consciously or subconsciously, it contributes to healing because it's relatable to other people.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So the next turn will be about your work in Sweden and migration and your perspective, but turn to Fala. The same question, is healing something that is in your interest when you're painting? Healing your people, help your people after this genocide? Just put...
Hello.
Yeah, I should work. Let's work, yeah.
Yeah, the question is about the healing through art.
Yes.
Yeah, when, for example, a viewer takes a look at a painting, he can discover from his perspective what's happened through this period of time to this person or to something related to the painting. So actually everyone has a different perspective to a painting, but the painting can give the beauty, can give the meaning, can give a story. So there are many things the painting can tell.
Yeah. How do you react? So when I go through the exhibition with Ryan now, and I saw a lot of pictures that bring me to another world.
Yeah.
And also it's impressed me because it bring me back to the genocide. I remember my interviews, a lot of survivors and how they suffered. And sometimes we became very emotional. Is something that you expected by your audience? They will be react emotional, and is that fine with you?
Yeah, actually when I was doing my paintings, I tried to put the emotions, the real emotions, on the face features and on the whole shape, you know. So for the viewers, when they look at the painting, they can remember and they can interact. And you know that many times we get busy with other life things. But when we go to an exhibition and take a look at these paintings, we remember and we get more, emotional, and we maybe encourage ourselves to do something for the humanity, to help those people that had the story. Yeah.
So for that is need to talk with the people, to listen to the people, and sometimes you listen a lot, you experience yourself, the flight from Shingal to Duhok and the Daesh, but also to listen the stories of survivors. How do you can compensate with this? How you can deal with it?
Yeah. Actually, I tried sometimes to go to them and meet them to talk about the subject, what has happened to them. In this case, I wrote the notes and to document that to be a fully subject. And it has a real impact on myself because it was real and we met face to face with those people. Yeah.
So I know the situation in the refugee camp is not really good. So they are now for 7 years have been in refugee camps. Nothing has been changed. So that's what I observed. I was months ago again in the refugee camps. And so as long as they're in the refugee camps, so they became somehow more depressed and more burdened. Is this where you say, I have to connect there, I have to find a way to be maybe the voice through painting of those people?
Yeah. This is, I thought that this is a good way to get the message to the world that these people, like Yazidi people, are still living in the camps, and they're suffering from hard conditions, and people can understand and that they are still living in the camps through this exhibition.
Yeah. What is your personal experience? For example, so in the refugee camps you have an old woman who is 70, 74 years old, or a child who is 10 or 12 years old. When they watching or seeing you painting, how is the reaction on the Yazidi community on your paintings?
I try to take the shots that has a meaning. So for the painting to be powerful, to have an impact on the viewer when they take a look at. I always try to be selective,
Okay.
Yeah. And my friends and the viewers, I think that they were happy with the result.
So do you use sometimes the old symbol of Yazidis, like the shrine of Lalesh or another symbols, which is well known in the society, to take them from the history and from the culture and to do new messages?
Yeah, I have painted the Yazidi traditions in many different ways.
Yes.
For example, I have painted my grandfather. He was wearing Yazidi traditional clothes. And I have a painting for a Yazidi girl. She was sitting in the camp and wearing the Yazidi traditional clothes. Yeah, I did things like that.
Okay. Thank you very much. So our last turn is about your perspective, your messages, your plans. I will later ask you my question regarding Kurdistan and Yazidis and Sinjar, but maybe you're now living in Europe and have lived in Netherlands and now in Sweden. What is the difference between Syria and Sweden, and how it impacts you by your work?
نعم، نرجع للسؤال اللي أنت تنقلتي بين كم بلد. يعني أنت خلينا نشوف الفرق بين سوريا لما كنت عايشة في سوريا ورجعتي إلى هولندا ورجعتي بعدين عشتي في السويد. شو الفرق أول شيء وشو التأثير اللي كل بلد أثر عليك وعلى عملك يعني بالنسبة للوحات
طبعا.
في تأثير لكل
طبعا.
بلد وكل ثقافة؟
هو ما فينا نقارن سوريا بأوروبا، خاصة اللي بيعرف يستعمل الإمكانيات الموجودة هون. يعني أنا مثلا درست بكلية فنون جميلة، أخذت حظ كبير إنه أنا عملت عدة معارض بهولندا، حتى رحت مثلت هولندا بالفن الحديث ببولونيا. لو أنا بسوريا ماني تابعة للنظام الأسد مستحيل تجيني هيك فرصة مثلا.
Well, I think it's comparable to have Syria being compared with the rest of the countries that have resided and lived. For example, I was graduated in fine arts in Syria at the time. But when I came to Netherlands, for example, I represented Netherlands in an advanced art event, and this was a great achievement for me. But this would have never happened in Syria unless I'm a big part or an advocate of a Syrian regime, for example. So the opportunity is unique.
وبعدين لما واحد هو بيتعب على نفسه في إمكانيات كتير بأوروبا. يعني مثلا بتشوف الفنانين حتى بأوروبا كتير كانوا يشتغلوا بوليتيك آرتس. يعني مثلا نشوف بيكاسو عمل الجورنيكا، تشوف مثلا شاغال كان يرسم التقاليد اللي شعبه كانوا يعملوها. فبتحس في حرية تعبير، وهذا الشيء اللي أنا استفدت منه. حسيت إنه أقدر أعبر على المرأة على كل شيء بدي يعني.
And also there is the freedom of expression when you do arts in Europe. You have a better freedom to do at least participate in political art, for example. Picasso did Artica, and also the other Chagall also, and to give you many other examples that they did pieces. The idea is that how they did political pieces and still were backed. Not being impacted or oppressed.
طبعا لكل بلد له تأثيره، بس بالآخر بيضل هو الفنان روحه وقناعته. لما بيكون عنده ريسيرش يعني بحث معين بيشتغل فيه، ما بيفرق بأي بلد بيشتغل، هو عملية استمرار فقط.
Well, I think the abilities, there are countries that enable you and there are others that oppress you, but when it comes to, it depends on you as a person or as an artist. If you have a continuous research working on yourself, it doesn't matter what country you are, as long as you're able or free to do so, you'll probably be very creative. And that varies from one person, from one artist to another.
Maybe just can you share with us your further plan? Do you have any new projects you want to do in Sweden?
No, not in Sweden. أنا كان عندي رحت طبعا مرتين عملت معارض بأمريكا بعدة ولايات 2 متتالية، بس بعدين اجت الكورونا وقفوا المعارض كلياتهم.
I did maybe not in Sweden, but I did many art exhibitions, and a couple of them in United States, one of them in California, and Arizona. It was continuous, and also in Arizona, but COVID-19 has put everything on hold. Maybe that will continue.
وهلا عم بشتغل على بروجكت كتير جديدة. برجع أقول إنه أنا كل شيء عم بيصير حوالي بحسه مهم. بحس إنه بحب أوثق كل شيء بضمن أسلوبي. يعني هلا لما مثلا بالكوفيد 19 شفنا العالم كمان عم تموت مثل القطيع، مثل الماسز. هلا عم بشتغل على بروجكت جديد عم بفرجي فيها مقارنة الإنسان. أحب أثبت هاي المرحلة وأقارن الإنسان بالحيوان بشكل ما.
And I am currently or continuously advancing my work. For example, that I'm getting affected by the environments and always wants to document the environments and the events that are taking place around me in my own way of documentation. For example, that in the recent COVID events that have happened and the entire world have been impacted, I am trying to document that and compare humans with the cattle and with the animals and how this has been impacted, the COVID impact on humans.
يعني أنا بحس إنه الفنان لازم يكون عنده هويته إنه هو إنسان. يعني لازم الإنسانية تشترك بهوية واحدة هي الإنسانية بغض النظر عن لونك وعرقك ودينك.
So for me, I think an artist has to think of her identity as a human identity, regardless to race, color, ethnic, or religious background.
يعني أنا لما بزعل بحكي مثلا على قضية شعبي، أنا بزعل على شعب قديم. يعني هلا مثلا بالعراق حرقوا هجروا شعب، حرقوا 8000 كتاب أثري، هدول للإنسانية كلها التاريخ هاد.
And so when I cry and complain about my people, my own community in Iraq, I'm complaining about an ancient society, an ancient civilization that have been destroyed thousands of years. And also, to give you an example of like 8,000 ancient books that were burnt. This is
الآثار بالمتحف العراقي، مدينة نمرود، هدول آثار آلاف السنين. هاد شعب حضارة، هاد للعالم كله. يعني حتى لو يصير هذا الشيء بمصر أو يصير برج إيفل أنا بزعل. يعني
and you know the remains in museums in Iraq and the artifacts that were destroyed in Iraq and both in Egypt. This should anger any human being, and that's I'm one of them and should be affected.
Definitely, you are right. I mean, when we saw how the IS destroyed paintings, stones, old ancient stones, so it was not just a case of destroy some stones, it was a case of destroy identity,
exactly.
The identity of the human being, the collective identity. So far, maybe also you work as something to work for not forget. No. Maybe this is a message. So I will come back to the last question. So what is the message to the audience? But before I will go back to Fala. Fala, you are working mainly in refugee camps in Sinjar with Yazidis. And what is the reaction of non-Yazidis? Like the majority is Muslims and Kurds in northern Iraq and Kurdistan.
Yeah, actually, I see all people like they are the same. I take care of the humanity. I did paintings on refugees. I didn't care about the religion or the race, things like that. So my goal is to get a message to the world, whatever the people who am documenting their stories.
Yeah. But there any negative kind of discrimination because you are Yazidi and you became a famous artist? Is that a problem in Iraq?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because Iraq is still not saved completely. Maybe if you freely express about yourself as you think through art or through writing a book, things like that, and get famous, maybe you are threatened.
Yeah, this is what Nahrin said. You have more maybe in Netherlands or in Sweden, you are more free in your expression without any danger. Or is this a problem sometimes still in Iraq? To be careful what to say and not to say?
Yeah, actually, I'm always like that. I always try to protect myself, and I try to do something in a safe way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your further project plans? What are you planning for the future?
I'm still working on documenting what has happened to Yazidi people through different paintings and from different angles about different topics. Yeah, I'm still living the story, you know.
Yeah.
So I cannot get out from this subject, and it's hard for me to sometimes to do a painting about something beautiful. Yeah, then I blame myself because I'm apart from this society. I have to work for them at least for this period of time. Then maybe I can do other paintings about other different things.
Yeah. Maybe a stupid question, but if I'm interested to buy one of your paintings, what I have to do?
If you wanted to.
Yeah, maybe I want a picture of you, a painting, and I'm interested to buy it. Is that possible? Because you're painting in Iraq and we are living in Europe or in America. How we can receive your paintings?
Yeah, actually, it's a difficult job to sell a painting like that because recently it was hard because of the COVID-19, and maybe you have to work with like an organization to do that for you, or if I see that I get benefit from the painting, and maybe I can help the ISIS survivors or the needed people.
For example, yeah.
I'm happy with that, to sell a painting and to help the others through that money.
So we have to organize something from Europe.
Yeah, we hope
Iraq,
so. We hope so.
To get more interest in your paintings.
Yeah.
Maybe my last question, as I mentioned before, your message to the audience regarding healing and art. What do you want to say to our audience?
آخر سؤال بالنسبة لك، يعني شو هو رسالتك بالنسبة للشفاء؟ كيف تنصحين الناس إنه بيشفوا من هذا الشيء؟
هلا أنا قبل كل شيء كفنان رسالتي بشكل شخصي هو إنه أنا أقدر أقدم شيء جديد للفن، يعني أقدم تكنيك جديد، لوحات جديدة، أعمل تطور بالحركة الفنية بالنسبة إلي.
First part of it, me as human and as an artist, I need to always bring something new, be creative and have a new technique and new move within my work.
بالنسبة للمسج الإنساني أنا بعطي مثال للمرأة أنه تكون قوية، خاصة النساء اللي إجوا من بلادنا، تآمن بنفسها، تحس بكل مجال هي فيها تقدر تعبر عن حقوقها يعني.
For the other part, my message, I think I'm giving an example of myself to women who can trust themselves and kind of take me as an example that you can rely on yourself and you're capable of doing almost anything. So that is related to those women and survivors who have come from different countries, our countries, all the way up here to make sure that they are influencing something.
إنه تشوف الحقيقة تقدر تحكيها، يكون عندك الجرأة، يكون عندك الإيمان، التغيير دائما، التغيير أهم شيء بالفن، بالسياسة، تكون كل شيء عم بتحس فيه لا تسكت عليه، تعمله.
And also it sets a message, or it sets a stage for women to be audacious, to be courageous, to speak what comes to mind and not be afraid of that. That it's something that you express, you have the capability to translate that expression into an action. Nothing to be afraid of.
يعني أنا بحس إنه الفن دوره مرات كتير مهم، لأنه الفنان بيكون لازم هو يكون أول حدا يبدأ بالتغيير، التغيير بكل شيء.
I think the role of an artist is very important because I think she is perhaps could be the first person or an actor to start with the change. And what change? Perhaps anything might need a change.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great message. I hope
Thanks.
we will change it. Well, a huge message for the audience. Just to mention, the audience not in the present also, we have on online streaming from Iraq, from different kind of countries are now with us. And what is your message for the audience?
My message for them to do their part as humans. Yeah, to be kind and merciful to other people who are in need, refugees, and for those who are living in countries that have wars. Yeah, my message is just that, to do your part and be kind.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nahira. Thank you very much, Haidar, for your great translation and support, and Fala to be here today. And ladies and gentlemen, we came to the end of our first panel of Nobody is Listening, but maybe This exhibition today is also a demand on the international to visibility of the effect of genocide, just not to forget the fight, the terror, the fighting, and the tragedies that the people, the Yazidi people and other minority face since 2014. And I hope it will get something to help and not to forget. And maybe we mentioned many times in Europe after the Second World War, 6 million Jews were not survived and faced the genocide, and we always said never again. And I hope today we will also start and remind to say never again. Also, we should not forget the women, but the people today in Afghanistan who face the terror of Taliban, at the same like the IS, and so maybe this should be also a part of our Nobody is Listening to the exhibition to remember the Yazidi genocide, but also the genocide worldwide, and today also with our solidarity and support with the people in Afghanistan, and I hope they will have a better day like the Yazidis. Thank you very much to be with us. Thank you very much for all the audience via online. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for listening to this beautiful artist talk. So thank you, Nareen Malki. Thank you, Fala Al-Razam. Thank you, Hada Elias. Exactly, thank you very much. And also a special thanks to Jan Ilhan Kieselhan, because without his great knowledge, this artist talk wouldn't have been possible. Also quickly, I would like to thank Ryan D'Souza for organizing this artist talk together with me and Tabea Giesecke. Special thanks also to the beautiful people of ZKM that are working today, from the event team, the curatorial team, the video studio, and also of the press and communication department. Thank you all very much. Also, I would like to tell you about the welcome ceremony, that you know what is happening later on. So the welcome ceremony starts at 6 p.m. here again at the Media Theatre. Actually, the admission starts already in half an hour, so at 5:45. So I would really kindly ask you to be here in time, because we will be quite crowded. So I think everything will be quite full. So please make sure to get your wristband at the entrance of the ZKM and be here in time. Thank you very much and enjoy the evening.